Hello everyone, it's Myung-Kul today. I'm going to read S4 4068, The Schoolyard Mystery by Elizabeth Levi, illustrated by Denise Broncos. Chapter 1, Tears in the Classroom. Chip Stone walked into his classroom. Bandages covered his face and hands. He looked as if he had been in a giant fire. The whole class gasped. Even Keith's brother. Keith was almost never nice to anybody. Justin's mouth dropped open. Chip was his best friend. He had heard about Chip's accident. Chip looked awful. Chip sat down next to Justin. Justin scribbled a note that he passed to Chip. Hey man, good to have you back. Chip turned his face to Justin. Justin looked through the bandages, but couldn't see Chip's eyes. He thought he saw a little tear in one corner. Justin rubbed the tear from his own eye. He sniffled. This pile of bandages was his best friend. Justin would do whatever he could to help Chip get better. Chip took a pen in his bandaged hand. He could barely hold it. Chip slowly thumbed each letter. He passed the note to Justin. I'm not sick, I'm just invisible. Justin read the note. He wondered if the problem was in Chip's head. Even if it was, he would still stick by his friend, no matter what. During recess, the teacher, Mr. Gonshak, brought out a giant rubber ball. It had all the continents and seas on it. It was almost as tall as Mr. Gonshak, and he was just 6 feet. PTO bought this new ball just for the second grade, said Mr. Gonshak. Isn't it fun? Be careful that Latin America doesn't roll right over you. The kids shrieked as the ball rolled toward them like a giant bulldozer. Mr. Gonshak went to the swings to talk to Miss Gerber, the kindergarten teacher. Kids grabbed the ball and tried to lift it over his head. It was just so big that he staggered backward and fell. The ball bounced off his head. Charlene rolled it away from him. Kiss gave her a dirty look. Charlene then bounced the ball toward Justin. It bounced off him. It was much lighter than it looked. Justin kicked the ball back to the middle of the group. Chip was standing a little outside of the circle. Justin felt bad. Chip was so heavily bandaged he couldn't play. Justin walked over to Chip to try to cheer him up. Mr. Gonshak is asking Miss Gerber for a date. Justin said to Chip. Chip giggled through his bandages. He knew all about the times that Justin heard the secrets the teachers told each other. Justin couldn't hear well in one ear. His teacher spoke into a special microphone that broadcast straight into a tiny radio. Justin wore around his neck, but Mr. Gonshek often forgot to turn the microphone off. Justin heard all kinds of things that he wasn't supposed to. Also, people sometimes forgot that he could read lips. Then suddenly Chip walked away like a mummy in his bandages. Justin decided Chip might be lonely. Justin followed him. Chip turned the corner by the swing. Then Justin saw Chip's clothes and a pile of bandages lying on the ground. Had Chip gone nuts and torn his bandages off? Chip, Chip, shouted Justin. Justin felt something clamp over his mouth. But nothing was there. Justin tried to scream. It's me, Chip, a voice said into Justin's good ear. Justin took a deep breath. The clamp over his mouth felt like a hand. It smelled like Chip. It was warm and human feeling, but Justin couldn't see it. Promise not to scream, said the voice. Justin nodded. Justin felt fingers slowly leaving his mouth. He twirled around to face Chip. But there was no Chip. There was just hair. Justin waved his arms in the air. He put his finger out and hit something soft. You poked my belly, said Chip. Chip, asked Justin, his voice shaking. It's me, said Chip. In the flesh. What flesh, Justin? I can't see you. I know, said Chip. His voice sounded sad. You can't read my lips. I don't have any lips. But you can hear me, right? I'm talking right into your good ear, okay? I can hear you fine, but what happened to you? Why can't I see you? You can tell me. I'm your friend. Justin reached out to put his arm around Chip's shoulder. But all he got was air. How did it happen? You know how my mom and dad love to explore caves, said Chip. We were walking through a cave and it was dark and a little wet. My foot slipped on some water and I fell into a pool. I felt cold and wet when I got up, but otherwise I felt fine. It was too dark to see anything in the cave. Then when we came out into the light, Mama Jelly, I can hear you, but I can't see you. She was wailing. I was scared, stiff. You mean you didn't break any bones? Said Justin, not a scratch. Justin stared into the space next to him, trying to figure out where Chip was standing. This is too weird. Weird? You think it's weird? Just imagine being me. I feel fine, but nobody can see me. It's easier to see you with the bandages. I hate those bandages, said Chip. The doctor said I should wear them so the kids would treat me normally, but they itch. And nobody treats me normally. I'll try, said Justin. Suddenly, Justin saw something move by the corner of his swing. Hey, Justin, are you reading your own lips? Why are you talking to deep lips? Yelled Keith. Justin rolled his eyes. Keith had such a big mouth. Was easy to read his my lips. Mind your own beeswax, Keith, he shouted. Keith jumped as if he were being tickled by an invisible hand. He was. Keith looked at the air next to him. He ran back toward the other kid. This could be fun, Chip said, just as Mr. Gonshak blew the whistle. Recess was over. Chip put his bandages back on. I'm too old for this, said Justin. Old for what? Having an invisible best friend. Chapter 2. Good, not evil. Mom, I'm not wearing the bandages to school, Chip announced when he got home. It's too hard to talk. His mother looked worried. The doctor said that the children in your school may not be ready to accept you as well. Different. I told Justin what happened to me, and he didn't freak. Chip insisted. The next day, Chip put on his clothes and baseball cap, but no bandages. During show and tell, he told the class the truth about what happened. Charlene raised her hand. I think you are very brave, she said. Charlene, all I did was trip into a pool of water in a cave. No, I mean to go without your bandages, to show us who you are. He's nothing, said Kid. He's not even there. He's two. There's a Chip is still the best kid in the class. 3 cheers for Chip. Hip, hip, hooray! Charlene led the cheering. The air around Chip's baseball cap turned a slight shade of a pink. Now that's enough of that, said Mr. Gonshek. Just because Chip is invisible doesn't mean we may call out in class. Rules are rules. Then Mr. Gonshek turned towards Mary. Now, Mary, remember your promise to bring in something for show and tell tomorrow. Mary wouldn't look up. She was very shy. She hardly ever talked in class. The next day, Mary walked to the front of the room, holding a little cage very tightly. "This is my salamander," she whispered. "His name is Doormat because I found him on my doormat." "Do you want to tell us anything else about him?" asked Mr. Gunshag. Mary shook her head. "If you stepped on him, he would be dead as a doormat," said Keith. That's a dormouse, dingbat," said Charlene. "You mean dead as a doornail?" said Justin. Mary looked horrified. She didn't like to talk about that. Salamanders. She held the doormat's cage even tighter. Mr. Gonshak told her she could take a seat. Later they were outside in the playground. Mr. Gonshak went to get the ball that looked like the planet Earth. It was missing. Mr. Gonshak was very upset. He asked everybody in the class if they had seen it. "Maybe Chip took it with him to the Bermuda Triangle," said Keith. "Isn't that where everything disappears? Why don't you disappear?" yelled Justin. Mr. Gonshak went to talk to the principal and group of teachers. "What you saying?" asked Chip. "I don't know," said Justin. "He's got the microphone off." Chip slipped off his hands, shirt and handed them to Justin. "Hold these, I'll go invisible." Justin stood there with the Chip's clothes in his hair. Feeling pretty stupid, he felt even stupider when Charlene came up to him and asked him what he was doing. A few seconds later, the clothes jumped out of Justin's hand. "Turn around, Charlene, I'm naked," said she. "You're invisible," said Charlene with her hands on her lips. "Turn around," hissed Chip. Charlene turned around. Chip quickly slipped his clothes back on. "Teachers are really mad that the ball is gone. It cost a lot of money. Miss the Gerber said yesterday with Mr. Gonshag," said she. "Also, Mrs. Campbell, our old first grade teacher, is pregnant." "Chipstone, you've been eavesdropping," exclaimed Charlene. "That's terrible. Did the teacher say anything about me?" "Yeah, they said you are a PET. The PE teacher is bad." "We know past even to teachers," said she. Charlene pouted. "He was just kidding," said Justin. Then he explained how he heard teachers' secret with his transistors. "So I can sometimes find out things people don't want me to. So can Chi. He just goes invisible by taking his clothes off. It makes us special." "What's so special about eavesdropping and making up stupid jokes that make me feel bad?" The Charlene Chip scratched his shirt. "I didn't to make you feel bad. You guys should be using your powers for good, not evil." "Charlene, we are not superheroes," said Chi. Justin nodded his head. "I know, but Justin can read lips and not everybody can do that." And Chip, "Well, you're certainly different, but we could call ourselves two weirdos for peace and justice," said Chip. Justin laughed. Charlene didn't. "We could help kids who are in trouble," she said. "I got it. We could call ourselves Invisible Ink, the company that rights wrongs." "What is this? What can you do?" "I'm the one who thought of it," said Charlene. "Besides, you need a girl in your club. It's the law." "She may be right," said Justin. The afternoon they went to Chip's house to get organized. "We need business cards," said Charlene, "to let people know that we're ready to help them." Justin sat down at Chip's computer. Charlene dictated. Justin typed in her words. He printed them out on a business card. "Invisible Ink, who right wrongs, come to us. With your problems, we can help." It floated in the air. Chip was holding it without gloves on. "I think we should write it in real invisible." ink, said Charlene, peering at it over Chip's shoulder. Yeah, and where do we find invisible ink? Asked Justin. In the freezer, said Charlene. Lemon juice looks invisible when we write with it, but if you hold it next to something warm, it shows up. Nee, said Chip and Justin together. Chip went to the refrigerator. He moved some hot dogs out of the way to get to the lemon. You know, guy, this is the first time since the accident that I haven't felt like a weirdo. Suddenly, Charlene screamed, "One of your hot dogs is running away." A raw hot dog floated in cheese above the floor. That's just Bex, said Chip. Bex was Chip's dog. He fell into the pool with me, said Chip. But see, part of his tail didn't get dipped. Justin could see a little brown spot of a tail. Chunks of hot dog mixed with dog saliva in midair. Hey, this is neat, said Charlene. It's kind of like a science experiment. It's kind of disgusting, said Justin. He took the lemons from Chip and started to squeeze out invisible ink. It took a lot of lemons, but invisible ink was now official. Chapter 3, A Salamander Hostage. Chip, Justin, and Charlene handed out the business cards. Before school the next day, Keith's brother took one. He laughed at it. It's a blank card. Hold it up to something warm, said Chip. Keith held it close to a light bulb. What's this invisible ink? Keith can be incorporated. Yes, they can. Can't they, Mr. Gonsha? I said, Charlene. I think it's very nice that you children are helping Chip, said Mr. Gonsha. We're not doing it to help Chip, said Justin impatiently. Chip and me and Charlene, we help people in trouble. Chip, Charlene, and I, corrected Mr. Gonshek. Class, I am still very upset that the ball is missing from the playground. If anybody knows anything about this, please tell me. The principal, Miss Macaron, and I will not rest until we find out who took that ball. The ball is a school property. She passed the note to Charlene and Justin. Charlene and Justin nodded. Mary raised her hand. Mary almost never raised her hand. Mr. Gonshak called on her. I have a confession to make, whispered Mary. I did it. Did what? Mary looked at the floor. I took the ball, Mary stammered. Mr. Gonshak stared at her. Mary, you? Where is it? Mary's eyes were wide. I stuck it with my pen and made a hole in it. Then I buried. I don't remember where. Mary, Mr. Gonshak exclaimed. That was a terrible thing to do. It's so unlike you. Why did you do it? Mary wouldn't answer. I want to see you after school, said Mr. Gonshak. She brought a note and passed it to Charlene and Justin. The girls are okay. Charlene wrote back. No, I'm sure Mary didn't do it. She needs our help, Justin nodded. So did Chip. But nobody could see. At lunchtime, Invisible Ink asked Mary if they could talk to her. I don't think so, said Mary. Charlene held one of the cards up. The warm dish of macaroni, slowly invisible ink. We right wrongs became clear. You need us, said Charlene. No, leave me alone, said Mary. She ran away. That's great, said Justin. A first customer runs away, invisible ink scores a big fat zero. Follow her, Chip, said Charlene. Something is wrong. Chip slipped off his clothes and went visible. He followed Mary. He was gone quite a while. When he came back, he put his clothes back on. You won't believe what that stinker kid's brother is doing to Mary. What? Justin and Charlene asked. Remember that salamander that Mary brought for show and tell? Dingbat, said Justin. Doormat. Well, Keith stuck the ball with his pen, and Mary saw him. But he's holding Doormat hostage and making Mary take the blame. Oh, poor Dingmat, said Justin. It's not Dingmat, it's Doormat, said Charlene and Chip together. We can't let him get away with this, said Charlene. She started to march across the lunchroom to make Keith confess. Justin grabbed her. Wait, he said, here, Justin and I. We've got to trap him. How? Justin tapped his transistor. I've got a plan, he whispered. Chapter 5, for high five. I want to talk to you. Justin started to kiss during recess. Yeah, you and who else? Is that invisible kid with you? Gypsy asked. No, I'm alone, said Justin. Justin backed against the wall. How do I know Chips is not invisible right behind you, said Kid. You got me backed in a corner, said Justin. If Chip were behind me, I'd be squashing him. I think squished Chip, said Kid. What do you want? Oh, can't you hear me? Do you want me to talk louder? No, said Justin, tapping the transistor around his neck. I can hear you. I know the wrong person is getting the blame for ruining our ball. You did it. Did Mary tell you? Asked Kid. Justin nodded, but didn't say anything. There's nothing you can do about it. Mary's never in trouble. Mr. Gonshek won't do anything to her. That's why I picked on her. But she's in big trouble now for telling you. She'll never get her salamander back. Kiss shoved Justin. He glared back at him. Don't try to follow me, he warned. Justin stayed where he was. Just the PTO had paid to have a giant sandbox built for the kindergartners. Kiss went to the sandbox. He shoved a little of the top of the... There was Mary's pet salamander in its cage. Oh, ripped the giant ball was underneath the cage. Chip grabbed the salamander and ran. Hey, shouted. All he could see was the cage flying across the playground. Chip handed the cage to Mary. Mary's mouth opened into big. Oh, Dome had just fallen across the playground into her hand. Judge ran up to Keith. You picked on the wrong person, Dodo. Everything you said to me is on tape. This is my transistor. It's a tape recorder. Why, you little twerp, said the kid. He tried to grab the transistor from around Justin's neck. Suddenly, invisible hands grabbed the keys. He tried to punch Chip, but only got it. What's going on? Demanded Mr. Gonshek. He said something to say to you, said Charlene. Kid crossed his arms over his chest. He shook his head. Justin tapped the tape recorder around his neck. Would you like me to play my tape for Mr. Gonshek? He asked. Mr. Gonshek looked down and saw the deflated ball. What is this doing here? He asked. He sighed. He knew he was caught. I did it, he said. I was just playing with my pen and it slipped. Mary slipped. Mary didn't do it. She just said that to be nice. Mary stroked the salamander's cage. You're going straight to the principal's office, said Mr. Gonshek. He looked at Justin and Charlene. I'm glad to finally know the truth. Maybe the board can be fixed. Did you kids have anything to do with finding it? Invisible ink saved the day, said Charlene. Mr. Gonshek smiled. He took Kid to the principal's office. Chip came back with his baseball cap and his clothes on. He was breathing hard. He sure went in and out. I don't know how to thank you, said Betty in a shy voice. Justin grinned. Just speak up, he said. It's hard for me to hear you when you mumble. And always remember to call on invisible ink when people is nowhere to be seen. Said Charlene. Justin and Chip tried to give each other a high five, but they missed each other's hand. Finally, their hands touched. They gave each other a big handshake. There's still work to be done, said Charlene, putting her hand on top of Justin's. Yes, said Justin. We got to work on a high five. It's hard to give a high five to an invisible hand. Nothing's too hard for invisible ink, said Charlene. Justin grinned. He couldn't see it, but he was sure that Chip was grinning too. The end.